Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I'm Medium Kim Copeland. Nice to have you join for this video. We're talking about a hospice day. What's a typical hospice nurse day like? And I'm going to talk about my last nursing day, which was in March. And I asked for that day to be a good day, and it was a good day. So I'm going to share it with you. All right. So as you maybe know, I don't know if you do or not, but I was working as a bedside hospice nurse for about more than 25 years. And it's something that I was very passionate about. Now, when I look back on it, I think, oh my gosh, I don't know how I did it. But anyway, I'll share with you this last day. So a hospice, as a visiting hospice nurse, I go from home to home. I start out at my home, I make my phone calls, look at the charts, and then I set up the times and I go see the families. And then, finish my charting at home. Everything is on computer nowadays. So you download your charts on the computer and it gets to the main system so that everybody can have access to your charting. Okay, so on that day, I remember one lady in particular. She was 104 years old. I seem to have had a lot of 104-year-olds over the years. And she had heart disease, and she died that day. But she got up and got dressed every single day of her life. She lived in an apartment behind her daughter's house. And that day she got up. She was a very religious person. She loved to watch church on TV. And so her daughter, she got dressed, her church clothes on for the day, and wheeled her over there to the house. They watched her church service. And then she died at the end of service at her daughter's house. She died in the wheelchair, and which is it's a great way to die, I suppose, right? And so they wheeled her back to her apartment. They got her in bed, and then I made my visit out to see her. But they were all celebrating for her because she did have a nice long life. They were expecting it, but she'd been on hospice for a long time. She finally took her last breath, finally made it to where she knew she was going to go. All right, so there's that one. Another lady that I saw that day, let's see. She also had heart disease, and she was having increased edema, swelling. She had swelling in her legs, especially, more short of breath, quite a bit of shortness of breath, swelling in her abdomen. She just had fluid buildup everywhere. So, when you have the fluid buildup, usually for the end-stage heart disease, this is what part of it is, right? You just, you can't pump the fluid anymore through the body. So I went to see her and the family. Her son was there with her. She lived in assisted living. Her son was visiting, but he was in town. He was just visiting her. So I gave her options, right? How do you reduce the fluid buildup? Usually it's diuretics. Well, she chose nothing. She didn't want to, even though she wasn't comfortable with her breath and she wasn't comfortable at all. She felt like in her mind, and we have to honor everybody's wishes. She wanted to she would rather have the fluid build up because she was ready to go. She was ready to make her transition. So the family, they allowed her to make her own decision this way. She was only, less than 80. I don't know, somewhere in the upper 70s, I think. But anyway, so after all the education and everything, how it would make her more comfortable, she chose not to have any more meds on board. So that's another one. That was very strong-willed lady. Both of the ladies, they're very strong-willed ladies. And then another lady that I saw, they happened to be all ladies that day. Let's see here. Okay, let me, okay, go. I know I have what I want to do at the end, and this one, oh yes. Okay, her husband was taking care of her in their own home. She had dementia. And there's a point with dementia where your loved ones will have a hard time taking care of you. And she was all of a sudden had turned bedbound. And so I helped the husband, who was an angel, right? I see so many men. We think of women as the caregivers, but really, truly, men are wonderful caregivers too. And I've seen It's equal to me. I wouldn't say one's better than the other. They can both be compassionate, caring, wonderful caregivers. So anyway, he was taking care of her, so gentle. He was still working at home from home as well. They were only in their 60s. So anyway, but she had a mess all over the place and needed help. So I helped him get her out of bed and we got her cleaned up. And the thing on this one is that I want to just let you know that he was such an amazing caregiver. And he was planning to, he was making plans to have her placed in a facility. And I know this is something that many will have to do. When do you make that decision? When is it too much to do? And it was really getting too much for him because she was getting too difficult to do for one person. There's no way he could have gotten her out of bed. Okay, so there's that one. Now the last one I'll talk about. I'm going to call her Mrs. Green because it made a mark on me. It was one that caused me a lot of anxiety, but it did finally turn out okay. So I saw her on a Saturday and Sunday. On the Saturday morning when I saw her, her husband, who was, oh boy, he was about 80. He was also a wonderful caregiver. He also had two daughters that came to help her. So the three of them did it together, but he still worked. He worked as a maintenance person for school buses, as of all things. But he was not just part-time, like half-time. Okay, but he liked working, so he wanted to do that. Now, and he also took care of her with the help of the daughters. Okay, so was very hectic. She was bedfast, not eating or drinking. And usually when we say somebody doesn't eat or drink, we call that actively dying. In other words, they're in their last 3 to 7 days. So, but the problems that she had was her pain was not in control. She was not sleeping hardly at all, even at night. Pain and not sleeping. And she had not signed what we call that DNR, do not resuscitate. Those are pretty big problems there. And she was afraid of dying, and here she was at the very end. So first thing for me as a hospice nurse is pain is number one. You got to get somebody comfortable. So lots of education about when to give pain medicines, how much, what's the purpose, what's the side effects, how frequent. So those are the things that the family's all on board. We got her comfortable right then. Within that hour, we got her comfortable. And whew, that was good. And she was willing to take the medicines. Even though she was not eating and drinking, she was still alert. And the reason she was so alert, and she was hyper alert, really, because she had so much anxiety about dying. So, when somebody can't sleep and their eyes are wide open all the time, that tells you they're afraid. And this hyper alertness is not a good sign. You want somebody in this last phase to be relaxed, because when you can be relaxed and at peace, then that transition process is so much easier. And if that means sleep, that's okay. Sleep is better than hyper alert and anxiety. So then we talked about some anxiety medicine. We got that. Why, how much, when, all that, and the family on board. So she was much more comfortable. She also could not get out of bed, as I said. Needed a lot of help with changing the sheets and the clothes and all that. So I taught the family that. But now we got her comfortable, got her clean. Now was the big conversation about that DNR, because everybody knew the family wanted her to sign it. She was able, because she was so hyper alert, she was able to sign a form that says do not resuscitate. And when the thing is, if somebody doesn't have that form signed in Texas, the hospice nurse, if they're called, the hospice nurse or the ambulance will have to start CPR. And probably this, but CPR will probably, especially somebody who's only like 85 pounds, is going to break your ribs. And it's not going to be, you're going to have a lot of pain afterwards. It's not just during it, but you're going to have pain for weeks afterwards. The quality of life, with the broken ribs is poor. And then especially she's already bedfast. So Anyway, but she, you know, the two daughters, the husband and myself were talking to her about it, and she felt we were trying to trick her. She felt, oh, we're trying to make her die sooner. She just had all the paranoia about dying, and she was refusing to sign the form. So, you know, you have to let it go. And I come in usually on the, you know, as a weekend nurse, you know, she wasn't my regular. I just fill in, you know, anytime I go out on the weekends, it's not for, hi, how you doing? And there's usually a reason, either somebody died or there's a crisis, pain, or, you know, things like that. There's a reason I go out. It's not just for regular nursing visits. So anyway, she refused. And I was worried, of course, I was very worried that she was going to die before Sunday morning. Because, you know, if she died Sunday before then, we knew it was not going to be a good outcome for her. Of course, DNR doesn't make you die quicker. It's just you're not wishing to have CPR. Okay. When you do take your last breath, that's the difference. And she already had cancer, stage 4, pancreatic cancer, and it spread to her bone. I mean, I think into her lung. I mean, so she had it in multiple places. And again, she wasn't eating and drinking. So, you know, it was that time. It was pretty urgent. So when I get back on Sunday morning, I made sure I would saw her first. And we did again. We reviewed everything from the day before. She was much more comfortable. She was actually relaxed. She slept through the night. Her eyes were much, you know, softer. She said she felt better. She was still awake. It's not like the pain medicines knock you out, but they just make it so that you're more comfortable. Well, so we talked again about signing the DNR. And I first of all, the daughters talked to her by themselves, then I talked to her, and she agreed to sign it. Thank goodness, right? Thank goodness. And so it was like, hurry before she changes her mind in a way, you know. And when, you know, you don't have to even be able to sign your whole name. You can sign an X, you can sign part of your name, and then the family can witness. All right, so she did it. Thank goodness. We still have to get the doctor to sign, so it's not really even official till I, you know, have to fax it to the doctor. The doctor's to sign, then it has to go, you know, back into our chart. Then it becomes official. So anyway, we got it done, and everybody was so grateful, so grateful for that. And then the next morning, so by Monday morning, it was early morning, like 4 a.m., she passed. So, whew, got that done. Then the family was very pleased, by the way, very, very pleased to have, you know, for her to die peacefully with them at the bedside. It didn't have to have the CPR, you know, she was very comfortable and peaceful. And then honestly, it was, I'd say 2 months later, the husband called me. Now, I don't even know how he got my personal phone number. He called me and he said, Kim, remember me? You know, I was Mrs. Green's husband, your last day of hospice, because I told him it was my last day. And he said, I just want to thank you so much for everything that you did for us. And that very, you know, sometimes I will get cards in the mail or, you know, something like that. But when I get a phone call directly, and I don't know how he got my number or how he even knew my last name. I just don't know. He probably asked somebody. Anyway, he called me. And that was so nice that he did that. So that was pretty much my last day. And well, something that I feel passionate about end of life care. I feel passionate because I know we all go to the light. That is it. There is no death. We are temporary here. Our bodies are temporary. And so helping somebody step across the veil and find the light, leaving their worn out body, you know, to me, it's a miracle. It's another birth. It's a birth into a new world. And so it's been an honor and a privilege to do that for so many years. I have other stories I want to share with you all, and I will be doing that. I just wanted to share this first, and then we'll be moving on. I am writing a book, by the way, with the help of a friend. And so that's maybe halfway kind of done in my stories. I've done everything by hand, and now I have to type it out, and then well, not everything by hand anyway. My friend keeps giving me, not keeps, she is encouraging me, and she's helping me along. So anyway, that I hope to have that. It's hard to say how many months, but in the months. Okay, blessings, you guys, and see you soon. Bye.